Hello houseplant friends and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna give you an Ilsemanii update. I had a whole thing planned for this video and then I accidentally deleted the files. Stop it, why are you angry? She's angry, right? She's like slapping her tail all over the place. Why are you angry? You're angry. She's mad because I moved my peace lily that she's been chomping on. I finally caught her eating a plant. She's fine, but she really liked to eat that. Anyways, I'm gonna give you an Ilsemanii update. I'm really bummed because I filmed myself propagating these plants and then I accidentally deleted it. So I'm going to, at the end of this video, tell you how I did what I did. So I'm gonna be showing you my Ilsemanii, but before I do, I wanna thank Ashley for, not me, I wanna thank one of my subscribers and Instagram friends, Ashley. She surprised me with an amazing rug. So this is an Ilsemanii rug that Ashley made me. And it is so sweet. This thing is very, very well made. You can see how thick it is. Also, for those of you wondering why it's pink, Ilsemanii can actually be pink sometimes, which is really cool. Ashley, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Her signature is right there. And it means a lot to me that someone would do something like this to make me like a gorgeous Ilsemanii rug, and they even got the leaf shape right. It's just incredible. It looks so good. So I just want to say thank you, Ashley, for making me this rug. I'm going to keep it forever, and I think I'm actually going to have it framed and put it on the wall. I don't want to walk on this because it's art. So I'm going to have this framed and it's going to go up on my wall forever. Thank you so much. I'm literally keeping it forever. Okay, now let's get into the real Ilsemanii. So I propagated my Ilsemanii, I think 2.5 to 3 months ago, maybe less. And I have update photos to show you along the way, but I'm going to do that at the end of this video. But right now I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So this is the main Ilsemanii. This is the one that I got in the mail in that video you guys watched me open. I let this plant get really big and then I cut it. It was starting to become just like completely green, so that's why I decided to cut it. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna freaking propagate it. I actually filmed me propagating it, and I was so excited to like have that documented. I had air layered it a little bit, and then I put the stems directly into soil and started rooting them in soil immediately. And that's because in one of the Facebook groups I'm on for Ilsemanii, that's what it's recommended to do. Here is our original guy. He actually has 2 growth points. So we have this one right here. This leaf actually is a little variegated, but you're not gonna be able to tell. It's green on green, and it's like so hard to see without getting really close to it. This was putting out a new leaf, which is really exciting. And this right here, we got a second growth point because I didn't realize that there was another node down there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna air layer this right here. See, there's a root. I'm gonna air layer it, and then I'm gonna cut this part off. And then hopefully, because this one has really stopped growing since the one on the left came out, this one hasn't done a lot, and I really don't want to ruin the node. So I'm going to let this one put out its next leaf, get it like in a ton of moss, and then I'm gonna cut it. Ilsemanii are said to be stable. There's not a ton known about the plant or exactly what causes the variegation that makes it genetic instead of chimeric. It's believed that there's about 2 forms of variegation happening in Ilsemanii. And again, all this stuff is like developing theses, so like none of this is strict facts yet because we just don't know. You better be careful. We got precious cargo up here right now, lady. Yeah, well, this leaf, there isn't like a ton of variegation on it. It is slightly variegated, but I'm really hopeful for this one right here because this is coming directly from the node that this one's attached to. So here we have another one of my propagations, and this is another Ilsemanii. This is another Ilsemanii. As you can see, it is a little pink. So remember when I told you Ilsemanii can be pink? Well, it also has a chunk taken out of it because I had to propagate. Well, it got some blight, so I had to like cut it out. Here is that leaf. Still pretty green. This one actually I don't think has any variegation on it. There's a couple flecks, just like literally a couple flecks on it, but nothing like, okay, that's variegation, you know? But as I was saying before, people believe it to be stable, and the most, I think, green leaves that have been seen and recorded before another variegated leaf comes out is 8 to 11. And people say like never ever throw them away, like they always go back to being variegated. And it's truly like kind of bizarre, because how do they just become re-variegated again? So this one's also putting out a new baby, a new leaf, which is really exciting. But the most exciting one actually is this guy. This one is really popping off, and I think it must be the most rooted out of all of them because it's grown the fastest for me. And this one actually is variegated. So here's our original leaf. And it's really interesting because the only variegation on this leaf is right there. But again, remember, Ilsemanii variegation is believed to be not only based in the meristem, but in just the genetics of the plant. And I don't know what that's called. We only have that right there, right? So it put out this weird baby leaf when it started growing. Then it gave me this, and this is really cool. You will see the flecks right there of variegation. And Ilsemanii produce very like kind of freckled variegation that can happen. And so that is really cool because that is my favorite kind to see. So the fact that it's like, I mean, it's there is just exciting. And then we have this big new leaf, and I was hoping to wait to film this until that had come out, but I ran out of time. So I've tried to sneak a peek. I don't know if you can tell, but it opens just a little bit, but it's just honestly, it's too soon to tell. So I'm not gonna export this video until hopefully that unfurls a little bit more. The stem is exceptionally red. For this new guy that's coming in. Like you can see how red that is. So I'm hoping we're getting a really, really nice leaf here, but it's too soon to tell. But here's my guy, and it's like going. Like, and the thing is, this plant is surprisingly easy to grow. It is actually kind of shocking. This plant, like with the tag, like the price tag that's usually attached to it, it's just like, I don't know, it's like how can it be, like you'd think it'd be so hard. And I think I was surprised like that with the oblique as well. Like the oblique is really an easy grower for me. So I was really thinking this would be a really hard grower for me. Hopefully I'll be back in a couple seconds for you. It'll be days for me. And maybe I'll have some cool, exciting news for you. But based on the stem, I am extremely hopeful. I do have a little bit of news for you. The one that I just showed you is actually starting to open up, and I think it's going to have some interesting type of color because the leaf came out kind of like transparent looking, so I don't know if it's gonna be like a more yellow. And then the part of the side of the leaf, unfortunately I'm grabbing it with my freaking thumb, but it's pink. So I don't know. But then there's this leaf on a different plant, and he's starting to come out, and it looks like you can see variegation. So, oh boy, your girl is so hopeful. Okay, update. So I took a closer look at this, and I'm sorry, but you can see that splotching so well. You guys, if this is what I think it is, and it's coming from an all green leaf, my gosh, is this plant dramatic. So those are my successes, but let's talk about my failures. And I wouldn't exactly call it a failure because even failures are learning and growing experiences. I do have these. This is a node I cut from underneath the main chunk of the original Ilsemanii to see if it would grow. It has a, right here what I'm pointing to, it has a auxiliary bud, so it should come in, is what I'm hoping for, but it's not rooting and it's not growing, so I'm not totally sure. And then we have this guy who I don't know what happened, but he seems to be recovering. So this is a node, this is an Ilsemanii node right here, and this guy grew, but he had hardly any roots. So he grew from here first, and you can see like there is definitely the start of a leaf in there. Like that is a really thick petiole covering right there, like a sheath, petular sheath. I don't know what it's called, but it even has a little leaf on top of it. But here's our little node guy, and I left him out the other day for a few hours to let him like really dry, and he's not rotting, but he's also not doing anything. So I am concerned. I'm keeping him in this. This has liquider in it, and it's dirty moss, which to make dirty moss, you literally just mix like kind of a wetter dirt with some moss, and it makes a more nutrient-rich mixture because moss has no nutrients in it. Like, and this guy sits in here with axillary bud facing up in my greenhouse. And these are 2 nodes. So this one was a whole plant. This had a leaf, it had roots and everything. And then it just wasn't happy. So this is my experiment. Then we do have one actual failure. I had 1 node rot, and I don't know what happened because all of my other plants like took really well, but for some reason, and I think it must have just gotten too wet. I think like it must have just gotten really unlucky, and the soil in that pot was just more moist than usual because it just like, it slowly just died on me. And I also don't know if it just didn't have enough roots because like I said, I air layered stuff. But other people in the Ilsemanii group say that you don't even need to air layer. You can literally just cut and put straight into soil and it'll do fine. So I'm not sure, other than like overwatering, what it could be. Like that one maybe just got unlucky. So that was really unfortunate, and you know, I obviously didn't pay for this plant with money, but that was really heartbreaking for me because everything else did really good, and then that one just like did really bad. So if these two, like, well, this is an experiment, like this like hard node piece, that's just like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. Like that was just sitting at the bottom of my Ilsemanii at the very bottom of the stem anyway, so. But this guy, if he doesn't make it, I'll also be very sad because it means that I only had a 60% success rate, which would not be the best. Still, no, I think 60% is failing, at least in America. I don't know, but losing 2 nodes is just not great because it makes me think, well, I could have just like traded the node for something and then maybe someone else would have done a better job. I don't know, but the whole point of this is for it to be kind of like a learning experience for me. And so far the node on this one isn't rotting and it isn't dying, and this is alive right here, so. Okay, so I have diligently kept and updated the group I'm in for Ilsemanii updated them on what's going on. So I have progress photos and updates for each of the situations. So here's how it started. I propagated this plant first by air layering it. I air layered it really well, and here's what it looked like when it was all air layered and stuff. Then I decided to cut it because it had so many roots, and so I cut it at each of the nodes, but I left 2 nodes at the bottom of like the plant, so the very base, because I did not want to end up accidentally with a spent Ilsemanii. Like that would be terrible. But what I didn't know is that there was a second axillary bud as well. Most nodes will have an axillary bud, but sometimes they don't, and it's really rare, but that's why you always need to check. So I only saw 1 axillary bud, but there ended up being 2, which is how I ended up with an Ilsemanii with 2 new growth points on it. So as soon as I finished propagating this plant, which again, I literally filmed all this for you and I'm so sorry I don't have the footage, but as soon as I finished propagating this plant, I potted them up and I put them in my greenhouse. And all this happened the day I got my greenhouse. So what I mean to say here is the day I filmed this video is the day that I propagated them. I potted them up in well-draining soil, terracotta pots, except for one, which I kept in the orchid pot it was originally in, and I sent my plants to do their thing. On May 18th, I announced that I would be propagating my Ilsemanii soon, and I asked for tips. On June 10th, I announced that my plants had been budding, which basically is the term that I use for when plants start to like put out some buds. So here was my first propagation. You can see that tiny little red bud right there. And here's my second propagation. I called this one Plant B. Here is my third propagation, and I believe, yeah, this is the one, so this was the top cutting, and this is the one that gave me such a hard time. This was the start of my Ilsemanii, like the main one that put out 2 growth points. And those are the 4 propagations that I showed, and I said that it had been 2 weeks since I started rooting in them. 10 days later, on 20th, I gave another update, said that I had been keeping them at 80% humidity, light was at 20 watts, and an aeroid well-draining soil mix, basically. Then this next update that I gave was on July 6th, and I called it the moment you've all been waiting for, and it was when my Ilsemanii buds started to pop. So at this point, it's been about 2.5 weeks since the last update. Here's the Ilsemanii with the 2 buds. Here's the one that's doing the best, and this is when it's about to put out its leaf that has the freckles on it.
Completely forgot to show you this guy, but he was also rockin'.
This was when this one right here started to lose one of its leaves, which is really unfortunate because this leaf was variegated and it was really pretty from what I remember. All of a sudden out of nowhere, the plant just started dying and it lost its leaf. Two of my Ilsemanii actually ended up losing their leaf. The one that just full out died, and then this one. The ones that didn't lose their leaves are the successful propagations. So that leads me to believe that since it's 100% rate of losing leaves for unsuccessful propagations, if your Ilsemanii is starting to lose a leaf, I would pay extra attention to it. On July 15th, which was 2 weeks ago, I shared this tiny little update showing the leaves finally popping open. And then just 3 days later, most of the leaves had unfurled, and I shared these photos, which are the last photos I took before basically showing you guys the plants here myself.
So I wanted to share some special information that I was able to learn over the last couple of months. This information is thanks to people like David Fell, Dom SDio, Joe Palm, Robert Johnson, and LariAnne Garner, who actually also talks about how too much nitrogen in soil will suppress chimeric variegation. If a plant favors a certain type of nutrient, the idea is that more of that nutrient will increase the cell growth in the cells that favor that nutrient, i.e. the variegation. Dom has also talked about bright light bringing out more of the creamy variegation. So this is a plant that seems to have its variegation slightly or in some way affected by light. And it has also been hypothesized that, like I said in the beginning of this video, there are two types of variegation happening at the same time, maybe. Again, that is a hypothesis. It has not been proven, but David Fell is the one to bring up the possible two types of variegation, and he's a very, very credible person. Dom also talks about nitrogen and kind of elaborates. He experimented growing Ilsemanii in a nitrogen-rich environment, and all the leaves came out green. LariAnne Garner says that white or yellow variegated cells do not benefit from excess nitrogen, so therefore they would need a more of a higher phosphorus to nitrogen ratio to maintain cell division in chimeric variegated plants.
Anyways, here's my favorite guy. He's really cute, but yeah. If you have some special plants in the future you might want to trade, I would love to hear from you. I'm more likely to trade with people that I know, so if you message me and I don't want to do a trade, that is why. Because I don't want to get scammed. Anyways, thank you guys for watching my little video on my Ilsemanii. I hope I was able to provide you with some interesting insight or information. Again, I'm really sorry I couldn't show you propagating this plant. That was part of my plan, but next time I propagate them, I will put that on a special hard drive where I don't ever delete stuff. So thanks so much for watching this video. Please make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and tweet me at PlantMeAshley. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as well at PlantMeAshley. I do a bunch of fun stuff on those places. So if you want to do fun stuff, follow me on those places. Also, check out my membership program. Members get advanced information. So I usually I take direct video requests from members, and it's only $5 a month. It's super cheap and you get a ton out of it. So I don't know, there's a lot of stuff. Come hang out with us. It's a good time, but you don't have to if you don't want to, but you definitely should. Thank you so much for the extra channel support to the Planted Cauliflower, All the Green Places, Botanicas, and Carissa Lawrence. You guys rock. And yeah, thank you guys for watching my Ilsemanii update, and I'll see you in the next houseplant section. Bye.